There you go. Okay.
Okay, but
So
slide sharing works.
I'm going to mute.
Okay.
I'm just muting. I'm leaving my mic, my Meet Echo mic open, and I'm muting my local mic.
Okay. Okay. Hello, everyone. Ari, Behet, Karsten, Jungyong, Junga, Rohit.
Hello.
Hello, hello. Hello.
I don't think Veset has joined us. If you see it says Zulip user, then they're probably just they have the Zulip tab open, but they haven't actually joined the Meet Echo. It'll say
Okay.
participant when they arrive.
Thanks, Michael. Yeah. But Karsten is here at least.
And Karsten is here. So Karsten,
Yeah.
I thought that you might abandon us to continue to prepare for the Great Seaboard War of this afternoon. But thanks for coming.
Welcome, Bart.
I'll get the notepad ready. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
There's already a link, so. Hello, Ori. Hello, hey, Bart. Welcome, everyone. Maybe we just wait 1 or 2 minutes more and then we get going.
And by the way, I'm gonna need to drop to yet another call at the top of the hour. So if we use the whole time, I might miss the last minute.
Okay, thanks, Ari. But the attendance is stable now, so maybe we can start. Welcome everyone to this 4th interim meeting for the ASDF working group. Chairs, it's myself, Lorenzo, and Michael. Let me share with you the agenda. So I will briefly go through the note well. And here you find the Meet Echo link and the notes. I kindly ask someone to write the notes. Who can do that? Ari, usually it's you, right?
I will spend the time. I will be in the
Okay.
notes and whatever else you need to do. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Michael. Sorry.
And for the rest of you to know, I'm at the right meeting in the foyer, and it's not acoustically wonderful, but at least their network doesn't suck.
Yeah. Thanks, Michael. Yeah, and then I give a brief working group status update. And then on the agenda, we have updates from NIPSI. We have Bart here with us, and then we will have a discussion on the recent updates to NIPSI. And then also we have an item for discussing the working group candidate drafts. Let's just have a chat on how we take it from there. And then any other business, we have face-to-face meeting in Madrid requested, so get ready for that. And then we will discuss whether it makes sense to have another virtual interim meeting before Madrid. So this is the agenda for today. A few words on Notewells. So this meeting is recorded, so be nice and professional. And then, yeah, IPR guidelines for IETF applies. So please, if you need further information, just follow the links. Yeah, here for the Notewell, here there are all relevant links. So if you want to dig deeper in that respect, just click on the links and read it. But yeah, generally speaking, this is what it is about in a nutshell. So treat colleague with respect, speak slowly and limit the user slang. have reasoned argument when you dispute ideas, and then use best engineering judgment, find best solutions, and then contribute to the ongoing work for the group. Okay, so status update. ASDF was chartered in October 2020, and it has been rechartered in June 2024. Chairs is myself, Lorenzo, and Michael Richardson, and Niklas Vidal was a co-chair until March 2025. Yeah, progress since the last interim that we had last month, April 2025. There is new versions of several drafts. So one is NIPSI. We will discuss 4 and 5 drafts, and then new version for the instance information and the compact notation. Yeah, and said so. Now I load slides from Bart that will provide updates on the NIPSI work.
Thank you, Lorenzo.
Sure. Let me see. NIPSI updates. Yeah, and I need to give you control. Pass slide control. Yes, I think now you have control, Bart, and you are good to go. So yeah, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Lorenzo. We missed the previous update. Unfortunately, none of us could make it, so we have quite a few updates. Between the last time we talked and now, we've released draft 4 and 5. You probably want to read draft 5, right? Because it contains the updates of draft 4 as well, obviously. So draft 4 took us a long time to get out. Apologies for that. The reason for that was that we were doing kind of the implementation at the same time. So most of all the big changes are in draft 4, and then draft 5 was some fine tuning based on kind of what we learned from the implementation that was not in draft 4. Draft 4 has been out for I think more than a month, and then draft 5 was released yesterday. Any comments that you have, you could let us know on the mailing list, or you could also open issues in the NIPSI ASDF repo. Now let's go overall the changes in draft 4 and 5. Like most of the draft 4 updates, we did discuss in previous interim meetings, and a lot of them, I think 2 key changes that have driven kind of a lot of the API changes are the fact that we're kind of fully leveraging SDF now in NIPSI to register interaction models for IoT devices. So this really simplifies all of our APIs. So now what you'll do is you'll register an interaction model for a thing, and then you'll register a SCIM object for an instance of that thing, and then all your NIPSI operations really just are REST operations on SDF affordances. So that it makes a lot of sense, and it really simplifies the APIs. In order for NIPSI to be able to perform operations on non-IP protocols, we needed to perform a mapping to that protocol, and so we've introduced a protocol mapping in the implementation of an SDF affordance, where with the protocol map keyword, you could basically define a protocol mapping of an SDF affordance to a protocol specific implementation. In the example here, you see a protocol mapping of a property, an SDF property called heart rate that maps to a BLE characteristic. Oh, sorry, wrong button. So those are the 2 big updates that kind of drove a lot of the API changes. In the text itself, we included a new architecture section kind of explaining all of this in detail and, kind of other characteristics of the APIs. So that's up front. It's a relatively comprehensive sections. We did a lot of experiments with the SDF registration API on how it was best to kind of register a model or a data app. And at first, we were kind of registering the SDF model against an ID, which an ID could be either which would be a unique UUID for a registered SCIM device or a registered group, a SCIM group. And kind of after trying separate different approaches, we kind of decided that registration APIs would not actually be against IDs, but they would just be registering a model that kind of one or multiple SCIM registrations, either groups or devices, could register. So we kind of removed the ID from the registration API, and I think this is something that Ari even kind of brought up in our last face-to-face as well. So we went that way. We had a value field that was not optional. It's now optional in actions, for example, because actions don't always have values. We figured out. We've kind of redesigned the failure responses and all of the error codes as well. We included protocol mapping support, and we've got, if you go look in the appendix of the document as well as in the NIPSI repo, you'll see some examples of protocol mapping. We've got BLE and ZigBee there. If anyone feels like contributing new ones or trying out new ones, that would be very interesting as well. We introduced API extensions. So these are API extensions. Sorry, or the ability to extend APIs. Basically, it allows you to take basic kind of NIPSI APIs and create compound APIs. A good example of that is the bulk API extension, but we've also created things like firmware download or conditional read and so forth. All the eventing encoding is now CBOR based. So it was previously protobuf, it's CBOR. That's also something we've discussed previously. And we've also included batching in the CDDL. So batching allows you to send not just a single message, but a batch of messages in an event, for example, in an MQTT message. We included quite a few examples that kind of goes through, API flows of how you would use NIPSI to communicate with a device. And there was already an extensive or a big appendix, but there was one appendix with the Open API model for NIPSI, but now there's actually quite a few appendixes. So we've got appendix for still have the appendix for the Open API model. We have an appendix with protocol mapping. We have an appendix with extensions. And then we've got an appendix with a few SDF models as well that have protocol mapping in them. So we have a few examples of SDF models as well. And then I think it was Lorenzo that suggested we put request ID in header rather than in the body for our responses, and we did that as well.
Bart, we have Michael in the queue.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
No problem.
Michael, sorry.
A silly question. My experience with MQTT was that it tended to prefer text messages. People would put XML and JSON through it, but CDDL is binary. Is that an issue? Did you have to encode it in some way? I didn't read the ID yet. Explain that.
No.
Is that an issue?
No, actually, I mean, CBOR over MQTT is quite performant. We've been.
You didn't have to. You could send the binary as it was.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic.
And then, but I didn't really mention this. So the draft also supports webhooks and WebSockets. So we didn't really, we kind of defined the schema, but we didn't define the transport. So MQTT is one of the options.
Great, thank you.
Then draft 5. We had a little bit of schema all over the architecture chapter, and we kind of consolidated that in the schema section. We were having some problems with, we think we had an elegant or we think we have an elegant way of defining things like MQTT topics, where we would basically use SDF references, but then we had this corner case in which that we had, or we thought we would have kind of multiple applications subscribing to the same SDF reference-based topic of devices but from devices that one app would have rights on and another app wouldn't. So we added the data app ID to the default topic, but we also added custom topics to the API, so you can define your own topic name. And then we created a bunch of extension APIs, firmware upgrade, bulk, and conditional read. And what we've noticed in those APIs that sometimes they could be quite extensive, and then because all of the NIPSI APIs have synchronous responses, it would take a long time for the gateway actually to respond. So we added basically so what we do now, or what we propose with extension APIs, is that we kind of return a response of, okay, the bulk operation has commenced, so that, and then you can either poll or define a callback to get the completion of the APIs. So we found that to be kind of in the real world easier to work with. And then we updated conditional read APIs from draft 4 as well, quite a bit, and we added more error codes in draft 5. So it's very hard to kind of go over all the changes kind of one by one, because there were quite a lot. So I think what we would request is that we think now the draft is in kind of relatively good shape and is really ready for kind of broader review. So we'd really, next time we meet, we definitely, be it in the next interim or face-to-face, we'd really like to have a feedback and a discussion about the contents of the draft. We're still missing two things. We're using the register API to register SDF models now. We could, or we can also include a reference to an SDF model, not an SDF model, but a reference to an SDF model in a SCIM onboarding request for a specific device that could be tied to a specific version of that device, for example, a specific firmware version. So we're looking at also introducing a manifest in SCIM, and I think we discussed this in the last face-to-face. This could go into the NIPSI draft as well. In the respective sections, we do mention also the which where or how the API is extensible and how IANA registrations play in things like protocol mapping and extensions. But we have not written the IANA registration section yet. So that's one thing that we still have to do, but that should be relatively straightforward. So there'll be a draft 6 with at least those two things, and hopefully some comments and some edits as well. And yeah, we really appreciate your feedback now, and are hoping to have a discussion on the contents in the next call. If anybody read the draft already, obviously today we can also go into depth.
At least Ari and I skimmed through it in the morning, and thanks for the great updates. Very good progress. But I give the word to Ari.
Yes, thanks a lot, Park, for doing this. I think very good progress, and happy to see this moving to a good direction. And yeah, as Lorenzo mentioned, we did have a bit of look at the draft this morning, and there's some bunch of detailed comments. So I wonder if we have time today, we could take a look at the API, especially the ASDF registration API, where we had a look at some bit more detailed comments there. That would be one option. And then I was also in particular wondering about the use of SDF ref in the return values. That's something we could also discuss a bit today if there's time after, let's say, more substantial and generic comments.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for reading it.
Do
Michael.
you have some IETF 123 hackathon plans? Will you bring your gateway? Would it be useful for us to send a general message out to the hackathon mailing lists about people bringing, I don't know, BTLE or some other kind of devices they may have? Would that be a useful thing to you? To like you're in thinking about the desire for a second implementation or something, or a client from someone else, or
yeah, that would be very useful. Yeah, we'd love to do something like that in the hackathon, so we can that would be very useful. We can definitely bring the gateway or even have a cloud-based one available. We also have the open source pretty much updated to
BTLE doesn't run over the internet from the cloud, as far as I know.
Oh yeah, meaning we'd have to bring an AP that talks to the gateway in the cloud. Yes,
right.
Access
okay.
point. Yeah, correct. Yeah. But that's not the problem. We can. I mean, if there's interest in that, we could definitely do that for the hackathon. Yes.
So I'll post a message to the list, kind of letting people know, and I'll probably CC it a few places, and maybe we can find a couple of interested, collaborators for you.
Awesome. If the hackathon registration is already open, I can register something as well. So for people to take a look at.
Yes, it is. It is open because the IETF registration is already open.
Okay.
Thanks, Michael. Ari.
Yeah, I also like the idea of the hackathon. I would be very happy to join the same table like last time. I think it was a lot of fun.
Agree.
Yeah, indeed. Really looking forward to have some hackathon together, guys. Any other questions, comments from the audience? Okay, I take it as a no. So left in the agenda is this the discussion about working group candidates draft for adoption. And then some practicalities for maybe next interim meeting. So maybe we can start. Ari had some comments on the draft. So maybe we can do some of that now, and then we address the other items in the end. Is that fine, Ari?
That works for me.
Okay.
I just maybe want to keep track of time, that you have time for the
absolutely,
last piece.
Absolutely. Yeah. We'll try to close maybe at the end of the hour, so maybe we can give it at 20 minutes or so.
Okay, good. So for the more detailed discussion, Bart, is it possible for you to share, for example, screen share the OpenAPI specification, or maybe the draft with the right spec parts?
I could do that if you need me to.
Or I think it's easier if Bart does. Bart,
So
if you're
yes,
talking,
I
you're
should do
muted.
that. I should do that, or Bart's going to do that. He's doing it. Okay.
Yeah. I think I needed to enable something.
Yeah, Bart, I think you need to request screen share from the bottom menu.
Yes. Now it should work. Awesome.
Perfect, thanks. So can you go to the ASDF registration part of the API?
But I think you're unmuted if you're speaking.
Sorry. Yes, I was speaking.
No worries.
Okay. Can you still see my screen?
Yeah, we can see it. And can you scroll to the return value part of it? So I guess, or maybe if you can like give a 5-minute overview of the API endpoints for everyone for context, and then we go on the details. I mean, it's the ASDF registration part, if we focus there now.
Okay. So it's strange because I can't move my, just a second. I seem to be able not to control my screen anymore. Wait a minute, let me stop sharing. Try this again.
I'm always having this problem when I share my screen, and then I try to edit the part that's the visibility of the sharing rather than the thing that's being shared.
Okay. So the registration API allows you to register a model. So basically, an SDF object or an SDF thing. So I mean, it's just the body of which the body is simply an SDF. An SDF object or an SDF thing. So it's basically a regular SDF model, and the response is, obviously 200 if it was successful, and then an SDF reference to the SDF object or the SDF thing. You can then, you can get all registered models, or then you can get a model based on the SDF reference. You can update a model based on the SDF reference or delete a model based on the SDF reference. So those are the kind of model registration APIs. And so for kind of the posts and the puts, so the registrations and the updates of the registration, there's a body. The body is the SDF model. Like in this put, for example, you're updating an SDF reference with an SDF model. In the gets, obviously there's no, in the gets and in the deletes, obviously there's no model. There's just a an SDF ref in the path. So it's relatively simple, Ari. So there's it's not super complicated.
No, very good. I agree. So that is good for everyone. A quick overview. So then if we go to the details, maybe first a minor thing. When you have this parameter SDF ref there, I guess you mean the definition name, the globally unique.
The globally unique name, yes.
Yeah. So maybe instead of calling SDF ref, we want to use, I don't know, SDF name or something. That goes out, but it's not the, well, you want to give the JSON pointer there properly encoded, but essentially you want to give the value is the definition name. But then going a bit more details.
Sorry, Ari. So what are you saying, that in the SDF ref is not the right term, or?
SDF ref is the name of the quality, and the value of the quality is the definition name. So, I mean, minor semantic difference, but I would maybe call it like definition name or something like that, the name of the parameter.
Okay.
But then looking at so the parameter now is the actual full JSON pointer. And I was wondering, because it contains the fragment ID, does that result in issues, or? Because I think that might be an issue in the API.
But it has to, if it wants to point to a single SDF thing or SDF object.
Yes, but I was wondering, like from URI encoding point, should that fragment ID be encoded, or does it work?
It's yeah, it does work. Yeah.
Is it the SDF object that's wrong and needs to be an SDF name, or is it the SDF model that's wrong and needs to be an SDF name?
So the definition name, what you see now there as the value of the SDF ref, the example.com/heart rate.
Yeah.
That's the name we're talking about. Like the payload, it's just fine. It's only the, and what I was wondering here, like, can you put that in your URL and expect it to work, or do you need to encode the fragment identifier differently?
Yeah, I think we percent encoded.
Okay, so you percent encode the value.
Yeah. Let me check.
Okay, then it works.
But why would you do that?
But doesn't
so what we are seeing on the screen there under SDF ref string is an SDF global name.
Yes.
And why do we have to encode that? We can just send the SDF global name.
But in the URL.
Which URL?
Yeah, it's in the
URL. I
path,
see an SDF global name.
But in the put request URL.
Oh, okay. So the what's that called? UI template.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't use UI templates, so I can't answer that question.
Yeah, but I guess actually now thinking about it, I guess like the URL templates, they did have one of those operators which does then the percent encoding, if I remember correctly. I mean, are those curly braces the one that does it?
Yeah, yeah. I just checked it's percent encoded. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Then I think that
and
works.
it's mentioned in the draft as well. So
Okay.
Okay, good. Then that probably works fine. And then if you scroll down to the return value, so I guess like so this is not SDF anymore, but you're reusing the SDF ref quality here to refer to the registered object.
yeah, it's basically the same. It's basically saying we registered this object for you, but we're not including the entire object. You know, we could, but we didn't. We thought, you know, just the reference to it is sufficient.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think that makes sense because they are pretty verbose, the full objects.
So again, here you recommend we change this name, right?
Well, here it's yeah, I guess yeah, you're right. Here it would probably make sense to be consistent with the naming. I mean, here when I saw this first, I thought like, is this an SDF fragment? But it's actually not SDF fragment. You just use the same name, quality name to say like, hey, this was the model that was registered.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Yeah, and you could as well simply have the URL, but for extensibility, maybe putting a JSON blob around it makes sense. I guess that's kind of your design rationale instead of simply putting the URL. Yeah.
So when you say for extensibility, do you have an idea of what could go in there as well?
I don't know. I didn't think about it, but I was assuming that it would be room for extensions.
Yeah. Extensibility is always good, but I think you need to have at least some idea of what could go there.
Yeah. So Carsten, are you saying putting a web link style there directly would be better if there's no obvious extensibility?
Yeah, just sending the string itself would work. I mean, you can send the string as a JSON string, so it has double quotes around it, and you can do /use and things like that in there, or you really can just send a text plain. I don't have an opinion on that, but wrapping it in another JSON object makes sense when we have an idea what else could go there.
Yeah, I think there's the case where there's multiple of them in an array.
I was just looking for that because there's also a get where you get you return multiple. Right, this one.
Yeah. Well, actually, now when I think about it, I guess would there be a reasonable thing if your SDF document contains multiple SDF objects, for example, that you would return then one for each, that actually the server would break it down to separate definitions on object level or thing level or whatever, there are multiple on the top level. Maybe that would be a reasonable case here.
Yeah, but the get does return the complete object, like the complete model, because you want to see what's in it, right?
Yeah, so, what I mean that if you would post an SDF document that contains 5 separate SDF object definitions, the server will break it down to 5 different definitions and actually return those 5 SDF refs.
That's a possibility, actually. That's not a bad idea, actually, to make it give the ability to register multiple SDF. Why not, right? Yeah. Because we have a get. The get also returns multiple, so the post could also include multiple. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, something to consider.
Okay.
And Karsten, if we do a bit of design here, design on the fly here, would like SDF name be better name than the SDF ref in the URL template?
Definitely would work for me. The full name is global name, but SDF name would also work.
Yeah.
Okay, we can change that.
Yep. So yeah, if you call it SDF name, and then in the text, maybe you already have it, but say it's the global name that needs to be there.
But we can call the global name too. It doesn't really.
I would go for SDF name for like.
Okay.
That either make sense, and then just clarify in the text, because I mean it's almost clear, but in the spec text it's good to be very explicit.
Yeah.
Good.
Any other comments about this before we move on to the last bits?
I could go on for a long time, but absolutely, if we need to move on, that's fine. And I can also
cut you off because this is actually useful. But you did say you have to leave at the top of the hour, and probably the rest of us too.
Yeah. So maybe we do the other parts, and then if we have more time, we can continue here until top of the hour.
Yeah, I think it makes sense.
If you have like a lot of feedback, we can also maybe organize something dedicated.
Well, what I would suggest is that we try to capture these as issues that we would discuss through at our next virtual interim.
Okay.
That would also let us, if they're in advance, then that would also let us all be on up to speed on what the tussle is, if there is one.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Would you be so kind, Ari, then to register the issues?
I'll do my pass. I'll do my best on doing a pass. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome.
Ari, if what you need us
Thanks,
is
Bart.
to reach out and yank them out of you, then okay. But yeah.
Sorry, Michael, I didn't hear what you said.
What I'm saying is that we would like you to push the issues to the GitHub, but what I think you're also implying is that you would be also quite happy if they were someone, pulled the issues out of you.
Yes.
Interviewed you, yeah, right, and said, "Give me all your issues," right?
Yeah, and I think I can have a quick session with Lorenzo at the office, and we'll come up with something. Thanks.
Yes, let's do that, Ari. Thanks a lot, Bart. So I bring back the slides, and then we go through the last item. So yeah, so we currently have these draft candidates for working group adoption, and I would like to discuss how we take this forward.
We need a critical group of people who've actually read them top to bottom of those versions. And I don't think I've read 07 of Digital Twin or any of SDF Compact, but I will. Our biggest problem is that our group is so small, I would say, to get enough non-authors to read them. But yeah,
Michael, we missed a bit. Can you please repeat?
I'm sorry. I'm just saying that we need more people to have read them outside of the group of authors, and we're almost exclusively everyone on this call is an author of one of those documents. So we all obviously have to read each other's documents but also we perhaps need a few other uninvolved people to read them and figure out. I think they probably all fit. I'm not worried about chartering. And I prefer to dot documents earlier. But we do need to have people familiar with them, I guess, is to enough to say I do not object.
Okay. Thanks. Carsten.
Yeah, looking at those documents, I can't really say anything about the middle one, except that we have a few other documents that probably interact with this in some way. So we need to figure out whether these at some point become candidates for working group adoption as well. On the mapping document, this is essentially plumbing, and it's really interesting to look at the plumbing that is now going on in NIPSI, where we have this protocol map quality that pulls in some ecosystem-specific mapping. So I think we should try to understand how these two approaches actually fit into the grand scheme of things. So I don't think we should discuss working group adoption right now, but first look at this first big example using the concept of a mapping and see whether we are on the right track. So that definitely would be something I would like to look at the hackathon in Madrid. And on the compact side, yeah, we need an implementation that we all can use. And yeah, that's on my to-do list. Maybe we can actually get to this at the 123 hackathon. So we try it out on our various SDF models and find out whether it's actually a useful way to discuss models and to write them down in specifications, or whether this is just a gimmick that feels good on first sight, but doesn't really give you anything in the long run. So I think we just have to try it with some SDF models, and the hackathon should give us a good way to try that.
Thanks, Carsten. Thanks a lot. I give word to Young Yong. Young Yong? Did you want it?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. I'm sorry that I couldn't submit the digital twin and non-affordance contributions to this meeting due to lack of time. So Dr. Hong and I will submit our contributions to the July meeting. If you are interested in our contributions, then we'd appreciate if you could participate as an editor. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, no problem. We can take that for the next meeting. Michael, do you have any recommendations for what Young Yong just raised?
Well, yeah. So I've been really hoping that we could find another editor to help with that document. I was hoping it would be Michael Koster because of time zones, but I don't think that's going to happen. So I guess we need to fish around for something else. Hong Young, will you be in Madrid?
Sorry?
Will you be at Madrid?
I can't.
No, I can't. I'm not understood. Is
I think this is Zhang Hong, and Hyunjung Lee is planning to attend the meeting in Madrid. Yes.
Okay, so maybe we can work together, and maybe I'll wind up as that editor to help you guys along. So let's plan to do some hackathon time to on that, and maybe during the week as well.
Okay, thank you.
Sounds like a plan. Thanks, everyone. So I think now we are done with this item, and then the last one is about do we want to have another virtual interim before the meeting in Madrid? At least I feel like we are getting traction, so maybe we should have one mid-June, or is it already vacation period, Ari?
Yeah, I think it would make sense. And I see Karsten in the chat saying yes.
Yeah, okay. I think this time slot, it's kind of convenient for almost everyone. So should we attempt to keep the same time? And then maybe, let me check the calendar. I was thinking more about mid-June.
Yeah, 18th or 25th of June.
Oh, wait, let's see. 18. Yeah, I mean, it works for me. 18, for example. Any other one? Okay, I see the chat. Okay, so is 18 fine for everyone?
Yeah, 18th looks okay.
Okay. Okay, 18 plus 1. Carsten, thanks. Okay, but I think humming consensus is saying 18. Yeah, Ari?
And one quick AOB on the scheduling. So on the 19th, we're planning to have a Thinking Research Group interim meeting on the data modeling topics, which is of course very much related to the work we do here. And especially one of the topics is going to be the SDF live with M2M matter bridging. So that could be very interesting for a lot of people in this group.
Ari, sorry, you said, can you repeat the date?
On the 19th, so the following
19th,
day.
okay.
And we are about to send this interim request, official request. So you will see on the Things in Research mailing list info going out on that soon.
Yes, that's very relevant for the group. Thanks for sharing, Ari. Okay, but then I will schedule the next interim for June 18th, same time as today. And at least on my side, the agenda is exhausted. So if there are no more questions, maybe we can go back and discuss further the NIPSI updates. Ari, do you think you have enough time now?
Yeah, we can continue.
Yeah, sure. Okay, but then I share the slides and give the control to Bart. Okay.
So Bart, do you want to do a?
Granted you control.
Yeah. Do we want the slides or just the?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Can you request the screen sharing? Granted.
They have to kill the slides.
Okay. Thanks, Michael. Okay. There you go.
Can you hear me, Ari?
Yes.
Oh, awesome.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So where were we? We were at, so maybe one quick one that I now remember. If you go to delete.
The delete?
Yes. So one thing So if I understand correctly, this one you deregister and registered model.
Correct.
And by the way, what would be a typical use case one would do this?
I mean, it's probably not that common, but like in case you are not using a class of devices anymore, or
Okay. So
yeah,
saving
or in
resources.
case you want to. I mean, actually, you know, if you want to replace, you can update, but yeah. So yeah, I agree. It's probably it's not something that will be very commonly used.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess it's more for completeness. That since
Yeah.
you can add stuff, it's good to remove stuff. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Because what I was wondering here, would there be an error case where someone is actually still using the model and you're deleting it? And should that be somehow addressed here? Like, for example, that
Yeah, a specific error code for model is still in use by a device, registered device.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of the. Let me check the error codes because they're not all here.
Because then, of course, the alternative would be that you actually, I don't know, deregister all devices that use that model. But I guess that's not what you want.
You might want to force the point, right? I don't care that they're being used. I want to delete them.
Yeah. But you know, if you do it mistakenly and I mean, it is quite a.
Well, maybe for the replace model case, maybe you actually just want to update and everyone transition to the new model without actually forcing them to stop using it.
It's also a good point that if you, let's say that, you know, there is some issue with the device and you want to delete a complete class of devices by class, right? Then this is a good way of doing it.
Okay, but maybe something you want to think about, like what are the
Let
implications?
me think about that.
I suspect it's exceptionally useful during development because you revise models and things like that. But maybe not that useful in production. But also devices they get updated and get new capabilities, and you need the new model for the new capability.
Yeah, but then you can update them. Then you can do a put, right?
Then you do an update. There's an update separately.
Yeah, but actually, it's a good point that it may end up being a different SDF name, that model, because you may still have models with the older firmware, right? Then you'll have to be able to address them both, and you would address that by basically registering a new model, and then over time you could potentially delete the old model if you have no more. So those could be the same device but with a different firmware, right? They could use two different models.
Okay, good. So I guess like the key thing is like to think about which way you think it makes most sense, and then document that case. Like what if those models are still in use and you're deleting it? Is it error or is it all deleted? Something in between. I think all have pros and cons, many merits there. And then one thing that I'm now looking at, there's also error code in the payload in addition to the HTTP error code. I remember commenting earlier that if both are necessary or if you could rely on the HTTP error codes, but is this like now more granular NIPSI detailed error code?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Okay, I think I'll need to take a closer look at that, but I'm kind of wondering, like, do you need that level of granularity? But maybe you have more on that in the spec itself.
Yeah,
and Karsten points out the problem details spec that might be very useful here. So instead of inventing like NIPSI specific way to describe the problems, there's an RFC for it. And you find the RFC numbers in the chat. But now I realize we're actually almost top of the hour, and I'm gonna need to jump to the next meeting. But thanks, Bart. This was very good discussion. I said like very good progress. So looking forward to discuss more.
Thank you, Ari.
Thank you, Ari. Thanks, Bart, a lot. Really nice stuff there. So are there any more comments or questions from the audience? Okay, but then should we call it a day? Are we fine with that?
Thank you.
Good.
Yeah,
Thanks.
okay.
Thanks,
Yeah.
everyone.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you.
See you in roughly 1 month. Thank you for participating.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
See you
Thank
soon.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.